Hey, this is Ari, and in this little clip, you're going to hear from Seth Conger, who works with some of the top functional medicine doctors in the world on optimizing brain health and treating neurological disease. This is such an important topic. This is something near and dear to my heart, as I have some members of my extended family who are dealing with these kinds of issues, and it is profoundly disheartening to watch someone kind of lose their understanding of the world, lose their understanding of who their family members are and what they're doing here. And this is something that can, by and large, be prevented and can be treated quite effectively, particularly if you catch it relatively early on in the process before there's too much neurological destruction. So I strongly recommend checking out this little clip and checking out the full length episode by clicking the link below this video. Enjoy.
Yeah, so first, the term pre-Alzheimer's is something that we came up with. And we came up with it because the other terms out there are subjective cognitive decline and mild cognitive impairment, and they keep changing these terms around every time they redo the DSM, which is the Diagnostic and Statistics Manual for Mental Health. And a lot of doctors are confused by the terms. So consumers are really concerned and confused by these terms. So we said it's a lot like prediabetes. It comes before diabetes. So this is pre-Alzheimer's. And that really breaks up into, are you at risk for developing Alzheimer's? Do you have symptoms? And can you recognize those symptoms, or are others recognizing those in you? And that would be subjective cognitive decline. And then there's mild cognitive impairment, which is actually a diagnosable disorder. It's one step away from dementia, Alzheimer's disease representing about 70% of the cases of dementia. And up until that point, you are still living independently. And that's important. That's kind of the barrier that we see when people no longer can live independently or get through their day-to-day tasks independently. That's where we're unable to really see a shift or a change in improving their brain health and overall condition. There are some cases, but not enough to really stand on. So it's the individuals who are at risk. That could be genetic risks, that could be underlying chronic conditions, or others, going into the other parts that really we focus on. So all the way up into that point where you're going to be diagnosed with dementia or Alzheimer's disease, we find, and studies have shown, that we can actually reverse cognitive decline in many cases and improve brain function and overall quality of life. We do see a lot of underlying conditions, and it's research has shown up to about 36 different underlying conditions that can be broken down into various categories that would lead the brain towards a cognitive impairment, potentially Alzheimer's disease. And these are everything from having too much or too little of something, which is, those two buckets that we can put up there, and then it can break down further and further from there. The big issues that we see are toxins in people's systems. We see a lot of gut issues and dysbiosis. We see mitochondrial issues, which I know you are very, very familiar with, and decreases in energy and fatigue. We see a ton of issues with metabolic effects. So this would be high blood sugar. So think about diabetes. Some people even call Alzheimer's disease now diabetes type 3. And that is a big part of this. Hypertension, and driving into even further other chronic diseases like heart disease. Those also are some of the leading conditions that can point the brain towards a further decline. But there's a key that we have found in this, which is there's a reason some people are able to have these chronic conditions and their brain is not declining and others are. And it seems to be pointing towards the blood-brain barrier. And just like your gut, if you have leaky gut, you have a breakdown in your gut barrier. And so the good things can't stay in and get digested, and the bad things are getting out and they're becoming systemic. We're seeing the same thing in the brain. And so the brain is being penetrated by things that are actually damaging it and insulting it. And the brain is reacting in a way that is potentially a protective mechanism that over time, if left unchecked, creates the symptoms that we associate with cognitive decline.
Hey, this is Ari. I hope you enjoyed this little clip. And if you want to listen to the full length podcast, the link for that is down in the description below. Also, one more thing before you go, I want to mention, in case you don't already know about it, our formula, Energenesis. This is an amazing product that has multiple compounds in it that are scientifically proven in numerous studies to increase your energy levels, not just by 3% or 5% or 10%, but by 30 or 40 or 50% in a very, very short time frame. So one of these compounds that I'll mention here is called NT factor phospholipid, and it is an extract of phospholipids that comes from lecithin, and they extract the pure phospholipids from this, things like phosphatidylcholine, phosphatidylethanolamine, and many others. And these are the same fatty acid compounds, phospholipid compounds, that compose our cell membranes and mitochondrial membranes. And this specific patented formula has been shown actually to enter into the bloodstream undigested, basically, without being broken down and denatured through the digestive process in the stomach and the intestines. It makes it into the bloodstream and actually makes it all the way to our cells and to our mitochondria, where it helps repair damaged mitochondrial membranes and facilitates our mitochondria functioning better. Now, all of that sounds like wonderful theory, and it sounds like it could be beneficial. But the real test is, has it actually been studied and been proven to increase your energy levels? And the answer is yes, absolutely. There are numerous studies outlined in a wonderful paper by a scientist named Garth Nicholson in a paper called Lipid Replacement Therapy. I highly recommend checking this out if you're interested in digging into the research. But this compound has been studied in the context of multiple different kinds of chronic fatigue. Aging-related chronic fatigue, obesity-related chronic fatigue, obscure things like Gulf War illness, and numerous studies in chronic fatigue syndrome. And there are studies showing that this has the capability. They've taken one study, in fact, actually showed that in elderly adults over the age of 65, it restored their mitochondrial health, which had deteriorated heavily. It restored it to the level of healthy 29-year-olds, believe it or not. And they've actually measured energy levels in these people. And all of these studies across the board show improvements in energy of at least 25%, and typically more like 35 to 45% in just the span of between 4 to 12 weeks. That's how long all of these studies are, 4 to 12 weeks. They're showing dramatic, huge improvements in energy levels by helping to repair these mitochondrial membranes through this thing called lipid replacement therapy, using, again, this patented form of a phospholipid extract called NT factor. This is just one of about 20 ingredients proven to benefit mitochondrial health that you'll find in my formula, Energenesis. So I strongly encourage you, if you are struggling with your energy levels, if you're dealing with chronic fatigue, go grab yourself a bottle or 3 of this, or subscribe and save. Try it out. You are going to be blown away by the results. We get so many testimonials. We get so many emails from people talking about how this one thing has transformed their lives. So I cannot encourage you strongly enough to give this a shot. And let's say you buy 3 bottles, try out the first one, give it a month. And if you don't notice significant improvements, you can return the unopened bottles to us for a full refund. So give it a shot. I really think you're going to be blown away by the results. The formula is called Energenesis, and you can get it at theenergyblueprint.com or click the link below. So I hope you enjoyed this, and I'll talk to you again very soon.